Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Matt Gear and you're watching Beginner's Guitar Lessons on Matt Gear TV. Today I'm going to give you part 2 of the lesson on bar chords. Previously I showed you how you can use the index finger as a bar using the E major shape to then move that E major chord shape all the way up the neck and get some different chords but with the same chord shape. Today what I'm going to do is show you how to use the A major shape, and we can use the same principle to get chords, this time with the root on the A string rather than the E string. I'm also going to show you the minor version of that as well, so we'll see the A major and A minor chord shape. Now I'm going to start with A major, and you guys are probably playing A major in one of two ways. Either's absolutely fine, either this way, so first, second, third finger, or this way, second, first, third finger. You're still fretting the same notes, you're just using different fingering to do that. Now, what I'm going to do is show you a slightly different way of doing this. It's kind of a cheats way, I guess, and it is an easier way to play the chord, and that's just barring all 3 of those frets with one finger, like this. Now, it does mean that you're not playing the top string, unless you've got a particularly flexible finger that you can bend up and away, because otherwise you end up muting the top string. But to be honest, that doesn't really bother me that much, and lots of people do that. So there's a really good way of playing an A chord very easily. Now, if we take the principles from the previous lesson, so we're using one chord shape, but then just moving it up the neck with another finger coming behind that as a bar, then what we can do is do the same with this. Now, we're actually going to have, rather than the index finger being the bar here, actually we're going to be using the ring finger, because from this position, rather than using the index finger to bar the actual A shape, if you like to think of it that way, we're going to use the ring finger. And what that's going to do is it's going to free up the index finger to come behind it. So when we move that whole thing up 1 fret, we drop the index finger behind, and then we've got B flat major, B major, C major, C sharp, D, and so on and so forth. So slightly differently to when we're using the F shape, where the index finger is going all the way across the back. With this, we're just using the index finger to hit the root of the chord, and then we're using the ring finger to bar the top 3 notes. Again, leaving that E string unplayed. Now, if you want to be a perfectionist about this, you can actually use these other shapes for the A chord so that you can hit the high E string to bring out that top note of the chord. And that works in exactly the same way. You'll just need to work a little bit harder to get your fingers in. You will probably need to use this fingering, so second, third, fourth fingering on the D, G and B string, so that you can then get the index finger behind that. That is quite a difficult one to do though, because you are having to wedge those 3 fingers into quite a tight space there. Matron. Which is why when I play it, I tend to just use the ring finger there to make the bar across those 3 strings. So that's the major shape. The minor shape, A minor, looks like that. It's exactly the same finger position relative to one another as E major. So if you were to play an E major chord, strumming from the low E, and you just move everything down 1 string and then strum from the A, that's now A minor. Now again, same principle as with E major to F major. From A minor to B flat minor, what we're going to do is take that same shape but shuffle all the fingers round 1 so that we free up the index finger to use as a bar. So if I'm using 1, 2, 3, what I want to be doing is using 2, 3, 4, and then the index finger there is free for the bar. So everything moves up, index finger comes behind, and there's B flat minor. So with these shapes now, you've got the ability to play bars starting on the E string and the A string. And what that's going to do is it's going to expand your chord vocabulary, but also give you different ways to play the same chord. So you probably know how to play an open D major, like this. You can also play D major now, like this, or like this. So there's three different ways of playing the same chord. With a G major, you might be used to this. You can now play this way or this way. So what this means is if you read a chord chart or something and it says E, A, D, what you might be tempted to do is open position, nothing wrong with that, but you know, it is quite basic, and if you keep playing that again and again, it's going to get quite boring. So there's one way of playing E, A, D. Here is another way. You could even play it up here if you wanted to. Or any combination thereof. Obviously, if you are changing chords, you're probably not going to want to go from an E there to a D there. What you want to try and do is keep the chords relatively close together in terms of whereabouts they appear on the fretboard. And what you get then is something that's called good voice leading. This is where you get notes shared from one chord to the next. You can hear they're all quite close together tonally there. Same here. Rather than, which is a bit of a mess, they're all over the place. So there you go. You now know how to play bar chords using the E string and the A string as the root of those chords, using the E major, E minor, A minor and A major shapes. So practice those and get them under your fingers, and once you can play those, what you'll find is that actually you can play pretty much any major or minor chord, whatever it is. So G sharp minor, for example, you might previously be going, I've got no idea how to play that. I know how to play a G major, but G sharp minor, what's that? What does that look like? Well, I know that that's a G sharp there. There's a G, that's a G sharp on the 4th fret of the lower E string. I also know that the minor shape with the root on the E string is that. It's an E minor shape. So G sharp minor is that. That's it. How about E flat major? You might go, good grief, well I know that's an E flat's down one, how do I do that? How do I play an E flat major chord? Well, I know that's an E, 7th fret on the A string, therefore down 1 fret is E flat, and I also know that with a root note starting on the A string, I want to play an A shape. So if I go to the 6th fret, which is an E flat, with my index finger, I now know there's an E flat major. And you can do that with anything. Once you've found the root, and the root has to be somewhere between open fret on an on the E string and 12th fret on the A string. Actually, that's repeating, so you've only got 1 octave there. So that's every single chord that you would want to know, major or minor. You now can figure out how to play that. So really try working on this hard, because once you can get your head around this and you can get your fingers around this on the fretboard, this is the absolute foundation that will then let you play pretty much whatever you want from a chordal point of view. In future lessons I'll show you some different and more interesting kinds of chords. So at the moment we've just done major and minor, but we'll start looking at sevenths and dominant chords and sixths and suspended chords and ninths and all that sort of stuff. But all of that will be built on top of this, because what you now know is if that's an E open string on the low E string, and that's an E 7th fret on the A string, within that octave is every note that you need to know chord-wise. So E, F, F sharp, G, so on and so forth. And with those two different types of bar chord that you can play, E shape, major minor, A shape, major minor, you can basically play any major or minor chord that you need to within that much of the neck. So from open to 7th fret. Pretty cool, huh? So, go away and practice that. And as I said, in subsequent lessons we'll start embellishing this and we'll start sticking some sevenths in and all kinds of other interesting stuff like that. So, until then, you guys take it easy. I've been Matt Gear and this has been Matt Gear TV. Cheers.